Let's check out the gate effect. Here I have just a house beat loaded from one of the packs in Ableton. I'm going to load the gate on it. And essentially, we can look at it as similar to that height level that you have in amusement parks. And if you're not tall enough, you can't go on the ride. So same thing here, but if you're not loud enough, you cannot pass the gate, meaning you're going to get turned down or completely muted. So right here is the threshold of how loud you need to be in order to actually pass the gate. Let's bring it up. Let's play it. And we can hear that it's very, very low, or at least we can see it in the outputs, that the gate is turning it down completely. So right here we have the floor knob of what happens if the signal does not pass the threshold. Let's turn it down all the way so it just mutes anything that does not pass the threshold. And as I turn down the threshold, we will be able to start hearing only the loudest elements of this drum loop, which is of course the kick. And all the sounds that are layered on the kick, which are the snare. Nice, as I turn it more and more, we start getting everything together with it. We have the return knob, which will make a difference between the amount that the gate is opening, or the level, and the level that the gate is closing. This is useful if you have something that's called chatter, where the gate is open and closing really fast. You can turn it up a tiny bit to extend that range, or turn it down, in order to solve those type of choppy gating, closing and opening really fast. We can also flip the gate to behave the opposite, just anything that happens opposite. So just the quietest sounds will pass through, while the loudest sound will be gated. We have a look ahead here, which will allow the gate to be precise, meaning that it's actually delaying everything by 1.5 milliseconds in order to look ahead in time, in order to grab everything instantly. And if we move our mouse over the gate, we can see on the bottom that it actually is reintroducing 1.5 milliseconds. So this is all okay because we have a delay compensation in Ableton. You can turn it up even to 10 if you find the gate to be not precise, like not actually grabbing everything in real time. Or even turn it off if you're not using the gate as extremely fast. Now here the attack and release and hold will determine what happens to the signal once it passes the threshold. So I can bring the attack to be higher, and we hear now that it kind of adds a fade in into the gate in itself. Let's bring it down. We can have the release, which will make the gate close much slower or much faster. And we also have the hold of how long it's going to hold it after the signal passes the threshold. And in very low values, you might create some clicks, as you can hear. So that's why it's set to 10 milliseconds by default. Nice. And as we mentioned, the flow is how much is going to get turned down, all the signals that don't pass the threshold. So essentially at 0, nothing is really happening. Nice. Now, one cool thing you can do with the gate, besides actually gating elements, like let's say you're recording with a mic, and when you're not singing, there's some other instrument next to you, like your guitar player or synth, and you want it to automatically be turned off. That can be a really great situation for gating. If you want to take only the loudest element of a drum, you want to make a drum loop tighter, or a guitar melody, or whatever it may be, you just want to take the loudest notes or the quietest notes with the flip. It can be very useful for that. But there are also some creative effects. So let's create a new MIDI track, and I'm going to load a wavetable. Let's make a simple chord here. Let's make it like a saw with some unison. That should be fine. Okay, let's turn it down a tiny bit. That's what we got. Excellent. I'm going to put the gate on the wavetable. Now, this is a static sound, right? It's just like a pad, a chord, just a block chord, just playing the same volume for the entire time. But what we can do with the gate is I can open it up, open the sidechain section, and this is the same sidechain you would see in any dynamic effect in Ableton, and also the filter, like the compressor, the glue compressor, the multiband dynamics. And we do have it covered in a different video as well, all about sidechain. And if I turn on the sidechain, I can map it to my drums, and now the trigger for the gate will be the drums. So that means that we can have the wavetable essentially playing only with the drums, kind of the opposite of sidechain compression. Nice, and remember, you also can flip it whenever you want. So this is similar to a sidechain compression, but much more abrupt, although we can adjust it from the envelopes, the attack, hold, and release. So gate, dynamic effect, controls whoever is not loud enough, turn it down, cannot pass the gate, and can also be used creatively with sidechain.